Thank you for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Ryan and Scott. Today's episode, have you ever felt like all the rock and roll sucks now? Well, you're dead wrong. Today we're going to talk about a bunch of newer bands, newish bands, that you need to be aware of. If you like classic rock and metal, these are bands that need to be on your radar. Stay tuned. I find that having a guitar when you're learning guitar is actually valuable.
Yeah, so when the person calls to sign up for lessons and asks,
do I need a guitar? Do you plan on practicing at home at any point?
Yeah, we're kind of off to a bad start.
You know, maybe they're just being honest with me and saying, "Hey, we're not going to practice at home." Is their way of letting me know?
Yeah, this is a topic we've kind of gone over before privately, but when someone inquires about taking guitar lessons, they're not just evaluating you, like you're evaluating them.
Yeah.
Right? You want to have a good student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not easy to come by. Not as easy to come by as you might think. You know, to have
and I get it's a new thing that a person is stepping into. I guess it would be better to be thorough, and it's good to, if you don't know, ask.
Yeah, of course. I also look at
good.
my job as like an ambassador for Guitardom to these people. Like, this is they're walking through the kingdom gates, and I'm like the guy greeting them and saying, "Okay, you need to start feeling comfortable here. This is the way we do things here."
Right.
You know what I mean? And try and make them feel like as comfortable and welcomed as they can.
Right. Introduce them to the HR person.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
this is the person that when you have to file your wrongful termination suit, this is the person you talk to.
Have you ever fired a student?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, many times.
Yep.
Yeah. And I try to be contentious about it, but it's just like, look, you know, this is clearly not working out. You know, you're definitely not getting anything out of this. It's costing you a lot of money to be here, and you're putting nothing into this. The parents aren't holding you accountable. You know, I've had students before too, where it's been a situation where they pay for the month, they leave, they don't show up for 3 of the 4 lessons, and then demand that they get the next month free or something. And I say, well, that's not how it works.
Nope.
And then I go and I pull out the lesson contract and I point them to the point where there's no lesson makeups for forfeited lessons. So that's, you know, you would then, and you know, then they'll say, well, then I'm going to quit. And I say, okay, but you're actually past the point where you can quit because you need to give notice. You can't just quit the day of, kind of thing. And then
this is what you agreed to.
This is some kind of like, well, no, you're just incapable of actually following through on anything. And that's what the problem actually is.
Tough,
you know what I mean? And I've had, you know, people who like gotten, you know, angry at me and screamed at me and stuff like that. And it's just like, and all I can say is I learned a lesson when I was younger. I was probably like 17. I want to say I had a boss. He used to say, smile and take their money. You know, don't engage, don't get in the mud with them. Just kind of smile and say, I'm so sorry you're unhappy with this. Is there anything I can do to make you satisfied at this point? Is there anything I can do to call someone? What can I do to rectify the situation? Just kind of take that approach to it rather than sort of like that. Or saying like, I'm so sorry that you're unhappy with this. Perhaps it'd be better if you went and found an instructor someplace else.
That's
you know
right.
What I mean? And then just kind of, you know, just leave it at that, and then don't get into the like, well, you should do this, or, you know, that's just, there's no value in that.
Absolutely. You know? And then, you know, from the student's perspective, I have a speech that goes something along the lines of, hey, not everyone's a guitar player.
Yeah. Maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah. Some people are painters. Some people are accountants.
Yep.
We're all different. And
it's a bold hypothesis, Ryan, that we're all different.
Right. Absolutely.
So anyway, welcome to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast. I don't know. You probably just wandered in. What's happening here? I don't know what's going on.
What's happening here? Well, what's happening here is
I'm Scott Allen, and that is
Ryan Bowe, and we're back to talk about all kinds of things that are rock guitar related, not least of which is our teaching practices and our perspective on music today.
Learning music and all that stuff. And I got to tell you, one thing I hear from a lot of like my older students and just colleagues, other musicians I talk to, is that, man, there's no good rock anymore. Like, rock sucks now. There's nothing out there that's rock and roll. And I push back on that and say, there's a ton of good stuff out there. You just got to find it. It's not going to find you. You got to find it. So that's our job today. We're going to try and hopefully introduce you guys, if you're rock fans, maybe classic rock fans, classic metal fans, to some newer bands. And we should probably talk about the terms of what newer means by these. We're talking newer since like 2000.
Yeah, definitely like definition of terms, because the definition of classic rock, quote unquote, has changed over time.
Yeah.
What constitutes classic rock?
Yeah, nowadays classic rock is like Motley Crue and Poison, you know,
or Rat.
Rat or Guns N' Roses. That's classic rock. You know
that blows my mind.
Yeah.
I honestly,
Metallica's classic rock, man. I mean, It's true.
If it was on MTV at any point, then I don't think it should be called classic rock.
That's just because of our perspective, man. You got to realize that
I know.
we're old as hell
I
compared to
know.
someone who's 20. They never saw it. They don't even know what MTV was. MTV, isn't that thing with like the Jersey Shore? Isn't that what that is?
Yeah, right.
They don't even know about why they even call it music television.
The real Jersey Shore wives of the NBA.
Beverly Hills or something, or who knows.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to talk about a few bands that we think that would be cool to know about if you're a fan of classic rock and metal, just to let you know that they exist, and maybe you can check them out. Maybe you like some of these guys.
Absolutely. So you want to go? So you want to go first, Scott?
Yeah, one band I want to mention is a band called Edguy. They're actually from Europe. I think they're from Sweden, and Edguy is really cool. They're kind of a mix of like if I don't know, maybe if like Steel Panther and Iron Maiden had a baby. That's kind of like what they describe me of. They're not.
Does this feature Guy Mandude on guitar?
No, it does not.
Oh.
That'd be awesome if it did, though.
It would.
But that's a band that's really cool. Their music is very melodic. It's kind of in the power metal genre, but it's got more of it's like a cross between power metal and like 80s Sunset Strip sort of thing. And that's a band that I think is a lot of people really like. So it's literally EDGUI.
Okay, what are the origins of the name?
I have no idea. I don't know anything about the band
There's
other
just
than
a
I've
guy
heard
named
them.
Ed?
No, the band they got a bunch of guys who are kind of in the Swedish music circle. I think Sweden or Norway or one of those countries.
One of the Nordic
countries. But their stuff's really great. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got like a lot of hooks and melodies. It's got great solos.
Cool.
It's really cool. So that's my first one in the hat. Everybody go check out Edguy. Just go to YouTube, put Edguy, live or Edguy, band, and then see what comes up. How about you, Ryan? What's your first one in the hopper?
Okay, I'm gonna come out of the gate strong with Nozomo Wakai's Destinia.
Okay, I know of him, but for the people listening, who is Nozomo Wakai?
So Nozomo Wakai is a Japanese guitar player, music producer. He's like one of the up-and-coming guitar guys.
Yeah, I've heard his stuff. It's great.
It's so great.
Yeah,
I first got hip to Nozomo Wakai on a recent Alcatraz album.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He contributed to, because there's a bunch of different guitar players on there.
Yeah.
It's like a who's who
That
of
Graham Bonnet, man, he's never played with anybody good.
Dude, if I were on a desert island, after all of King Diamond's albums, then my next pick would just be, like what are you gonna listen to?
Yeah.
If I had to pick three things, like pick number 2 would just be any band that Graham Bonnet ever sang
Yeah.
for.
He's only played with a few good guitar players.
God, no doubt. So most of those guitar players are on. It's not the most recent Alcatraz album because that does not have Graham Bonnet on it, and that album's not bad. But the one right before, I think it's called Born Innocent. Yeah, so there's a track on there called Finn McCool. Yeah, and it's a Nozomo Wakai thing, and yeah, it's just the riffs are great. His tones killer, killer riff, just all of it. It's just the whole package, right? So yeah, there's an album of his that came out with his own band called Destinia, and it's just a self-titled thing, but it features Ronnie Romero on vocals, of course.
But everybody's got him on vocals, actually.
Yeah,
he's
totally.
the new version of Ripper Owens.
Yeah, he's kind of the it guy right now,
Yeah.
isn't he? Yeah. We have Richie Blackmore to thank.
Yep.
Yeah, and so
He actually sang on the new Vandenberg too.
Yeah, and I know that. God, what was the original singer's name? Bert. It was Bert. Bert. Something Nordic sounding. I prefer the original.
I really hope it's Bert and Ernie.
Yeah, I want to say it's like Bert Meeks or something like that. I know I'm close.
Okay.
Maybe I'll find out before the podcast is over.
Is Bert a Nordic name?
I guess,
Yeah.
but it's or maybe it's like BIRT, like Beert.
I don't know.
It's fun either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the original vocalist for Vandenberg better.
I don't know, of course, but the Nozomo Wakai stuff is really good.
It is really
good.
really good. I think it says a lot when, that I don't dislike Ronnie Romero. I think he's a little too gravelly for my taste.
Yeah, and he's got a kind of a Dio-y kind of thing to his voice too, it's not like
but
Dio,
too gravelly. Like
yeah.
Dio's voice was clear and powerful.
Yeah.
Romero is just a little gravelier than I would prefer. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Well, let's keep going. The other band I want to mention is a band called Santa Cruz. And Santa Cruz is a band that actually it doesn't really exist anymore in its same form, but there was a time where these two dudes, it's basically, imagine if like Brittany Fox had real chops and could really play.
Brittany Fox was not bad. I would highly recommend listening to Bite Down Hard.
Sure.
That album rips, and there are definitely chops.
But
Continue.
it would be like if Brittany Fox had like a guy like George Lynch as a lead player, that kind of thing. It was like classic prime George Lynch, kind of that kind of thing. And the singer actually plays leads in that band. He's badass too.
Nice.
And it's very much sleaze rock in the kind of vein of like
Love it.
Skid Row kind of thing, but it's like newer band. They're also from like Holland or something like that. They're from
So
Europe.
like is one album kind of like a roller coaster, and the other is sort of like a merry-go-round, and then like the other
It's all about flower fields. I'm not sure why they sing
flower
about that.
fields.
It's so weird.
Yes, it's the last album was salty like
Yeah,
the ocean.
exactly. But no, that band, I remember hearing that and thinking, holy crap, these guys are really doing it, man. I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. So just put Santa Cruz into the search engine and go check out that band.
Hell yeah.
They're actually from, it's funny, we think living in California, oh, that must be from right down the street. They're Santa Cruz. But no, they're from Europe as well, like all the other good bands, you know. So you can keep going. What's your next one?
Oh man, what is it? Okay, so I think Joel Hoekstra's 13 just released 2 really strong albums.
Now that's a question because Joel Hoekstra has been around for a while. Would that still count as? Well, I guess it's a new band. That makes sense.
It's Joel Hoekstra's 13.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay,
it's
then-
not Trans-Siberian Orchestra or Whitesnake.
I'll piggyback on top of that
Okay.
with another one, Black Swan.
Yes,
That's
I
another-
loved the last 2 Black Swan.
Black Swan, which is kind of a super group. It's
Tell
Jeff
us all about
Pilson
it.
and Red Beach, and with Mike Starr from Mr. Big, and then oh my gosh, who's the vocalist? I can't believe I'm spacing on the vocalist name. Help me out there, Ryan. What's the
Robin McCauley.
Robin McCauley? Yep, exactly. Great stuff. Red Beach and Pilson wrote all the stuff, so it's just unbelievable. So
Killer stuff.
Killer, great stuff. I mean, those guys aren't new guys, but the band is new, so it's something that if you like classic rock, you probably would totally dig that. You know what I mean? So
This is interesting because we're already kind of venturing into new bands featuring the same dudes.
yeah, it's true. But I was thinking, like, to me, 13 and Black Swan are kind of two sides of the same coin.
And
They're-
iconic.
Yeah, iconic, same thing. Yep, same kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's Michael Sweet from Stryper and
Joel Hoekstra.
Yeah, Hoekstra's in it. So Joel Hoekstra is, man, he's really flying the flag for the hard rock virtuosity.
And he's also guitarist in Whitesnake at the moment too. So I mean, it's
Along with Reb.
Yeah, along with Reb. It's crazy.
Absolutely. You know, what I dig about Hoekstra is, you know, it's kind of like Doug Aldrich.
Yeah, he's very similar. Yeah,
Right.
which
Well,
ironically he replaced Doug Aldrich in Whitesnake
Yeah, but I mean, I remember not being aware of either. Well, I mean, Doug, I was aware of earlier than Hoekstra.
because of Lion.
Yeah, well, and you know what? It was a long time. One of my formative experiences was going to see the animated Transformers movie in 1986 at the movie theater inside the mall, the shopping mall. So shopping malls were these places
Yeah.
where there were
You could buy
retailers.
things, yeah.
You'd go there and you'd buy stuff.
Yeah, physically in the store.
Right, you had
Yeah.
to interact with other human beings.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable. I mean, I don't know
It was
how
tough,
yeah.
man. It was rough. I don't, you know, I have some younger students who are now going back to the mall.
That's
I don't
an
know
awesome
if it's
thing.
Yeah, it is. It gives me a little bit of hope. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're also taking guitar
Hey
lessons
man,
and they're cool
you know,
people. So
the Pac Sun is not going to shoplift itself. You know what I mean?
right. The leather store. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're not gonna. Sunrise Leather isn't gonna get shoplifted on its own.
They have to exist for no other reason than that. Teach the
Right.
young people how to hide something in their pants as they walk out the door. Yeah. Okay, I got a
So-
legitimately relatively new band, and this is
Yeah.
something for people who like the really classic stuff. A band called Rival Sons, and if you're into like '70s rock, kind of like the Deep Purple meets
Oh, yeah.
sort of the Who meets sort of like the Doors kind of stuff.
Zeppelin.
Yeah, but not quite as heavy as Zeppelin. More Purple, Doors-ish, I would say, kind of somewhere between those two.
Oh.
But that's a band that actually great vocals, great guitar parts, great riffs.
I was gonna say that's like I know that Greta Van Fleet gets the flying the Zeppelin banner credit, but dude, Rival Sons,
Yeah, Rival Sons is. I think they're more Purple than Zeppelin.
their
in my opinion.
singer's so good.
Yeah, that whole band is really good, actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I remember at a NAMM show like 5, 6, no, maybe 7 years ago. I remember all the dudes who were all saying, "Oh man, Greta Van Fleet, they're gonna save rock." And I looked at them and I said, like, Well, the problem with that is the only people who know who Greta Van Fleet are people in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And there's no 20-year-old I know who even knows who that is. You know what I mean? And it's like you can't. Old guys like it because it sounds like Led Zeppelin, but that like a kid doesn't know what that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm amazed how quickly that band's already come and gone. They were like playing on
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live like 3 years ago, and now
Dude,
they're completely off the radar.
They contributed a song to the soundtrack of a really shitty video game back in 2008, I
Yeah,
think.
and that's amazing how quickly that band came and went. But anyway, Rival Sons is the real deal, though. That's a band that everyone needs to check out. So, do you have another one in the hopper? I got a bunch of them actually.
Oh, so I've got one. Also hailing from Japan,
Okay,
Galnerius.
I've never heard of this band.
Oh, dude.
Galnerius.
Galnerius.
That's- okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if Galnerius is the name of like an archangel or something.
Sounds
but
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, right? Like some sort of supernatural entity with a sword and a shield or something. Anyway, whatever.
It's actually
rad.
probably some kind of obscure jellyfish or something.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, they're doing like serious, like classically influenced melodic rock. And their guitar player, his name is Sue. And he has some solo albums, also like high virtuosity, classically influenced, but with modern twists. Man, killer stuff. Galnerius from Japan. Check him
nice.
out. Very, very cool stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, you like your music like you like your kelp from Japan.
Yeah, well, my seaweed, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
All right, so that next one I would throw out there is more of a prog band, and that's Periphery. That's a band I think that a lot of people need to be aware of because that's got. I mean, people a lot of times if you're a guitar player, you know who Misha Mansour is.
They're
And
kind
Jake
of,
Bowen.
that's a band that's kind of like on the edges of your vision.
Yeah, they're you can see them, but they're just over there. I don't
Right,
know.
yeah,
I kind of try and
absolutely.
look, but they keep going over that way.
They're just slightly in frame.
Now, one thing I would say is that their vocals are kind of hit and miss. They have a little bit of that metalcore thing where they scream in certain parts, and then there's melodic vocals in other parts, which I don't like. But that's what the kids think metal is, so they have to have it there. But the playing is legit, and it's got hooks and melodies, and it's a little bit of interest too. It's definitely on the prog side, so if you're not into proggy stuff, you might not dig it as much. But that's a great band.
Not to be confused with Polyphia.
Yeah, not Polyphia, which is there's really no acceptable
Periphery
reason.
and Polyphia could
Yeah.
be on the like
Yes, they just went
on
to the
the
P in the encyclopedia.
Iferia.
And then-
Yeah, totally. They're into that.
The Periphery is
PHF.
legit though. They have some really
Yeah.
good stuff. They're not a band that's amazing, but they're a band that's really good. And I think that if you're a prog metal fan, you probably would dig them. So it's worth checking out. So
Hell yeah. Thanks for listening to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. Please make sure to mash that like button, rate as highly as possible, and subscribe. Now back to the show.
yeah, what's your next one?
So, okay, well, I'm only going to give, although I do like some of the stuff they've done on later albums, but I'm just going to give it a one album plug, and then I'm going to link it all to the guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
The first Falling in Reverse album is
Yeah,
badass.
Falling Reverse is a good band.
Yeah, absolutely, and largely because of Jackie Vincent.
Yeah.
But you got to give the singer credit too. His voice might not be my favorite, but he does sing.
Yep. And that's another
and
band.
he does rap too, and he does it in a way that's convincing.
Interesting, which is unusual for a rock singer. You know?
Yeah, but Jackie Vincent is always totally shredded,
Yeah,
and
they
he
have-
totally name drops Michael Badio as an influence
Yeah.
and is unashamed.
And that band's got a little bit of like a Motley Crue sort of image to it as well, which is kind of cool. You know,
Yeah,
kind
but
of,
chops for days.
now obviously one of the most famous newer bands is Avenged Sevenfold. I don't even know if they need help from us pointing that out, but
well, for a while we were thinking about calling our project Avenged Eightfold.
that's one more that shows you
But
in
yeah,
your
so,
face, math.
So even though later in their career we could probably say that there are a bunch of bands out there that are more avenged than they are.
Avenged 13-fold is the one.
Yeah,
that's cool.
right, yeah, I know we're probably like avenged. Yeah, 13
But I will
or
say
avenged
this,
14-fold. That'd be double.
Both guitar players in that band are legit players. They can
Yeah,
really
Sinister
play.
Gates is
And-
good.
Yep, and the Zachy Vengeance, whatever I'm sure his name is like Bill Smith or something. But but that being said, that band they do sing. They've got the thing about them that there's nothing about them that sucks, but there's nothing about them that's great either.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
a lot of people. The album, what was it? Hail to the King, after their drummer died.
I think it was Nightmare After the Drummer. That's one Mike Portnoy played on.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, that's when Mike
Well-
Portnoy got his middle-aged man thing. He's going to leave his
Okay.
wife for the young girl, and then she rejected him kind of moment.
So
Yeah.
basically, it was like his midlife crisis. Like,
That was his midlife crisis.
like
band.
Red Corvette band.
Yep, exactly.
Got it.
And then he regretted
Okay.
it, and then the Dream Theater he moved on with Mangini. So
My only beef with Avenged Sevenfold, besides them not being as avenged as I wish they were,
yeah,
whoever their singer is that M Shadows?
yeah. I'm sure that's not his name.
So, yeah, his name is really like Mike Shadlovich.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Shamalama Ding Dong. Is his name,
Right.
Yeah.
it, wait, doesn't he make those like crappy movies with a silly twist at the end? He sees dead people and
Yes.
stuff.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like he went to the James Hetfield Bob Rock Vocal College.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of derivative stuff with that. I mean, but as far as bands that do rock and have something there to listen to, you could do a lot worse. You know what I mean? I really just feel a lot of indifference towards that band more than anything. I just feel like, they're fine.
Just kind of meh.
Yeah, okay. You know,
I had a student for a while. Actually, one of the best students I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had Sinister Gates, the Schecter,
the Schecter.
right?
Yeah, I had a few of those too.
And so as you may know, they Avenged Sevenfold basically stole their band mascot from Overkill.
Yeah, I know.
The skull with the two bat wings on
Yep.
it. Okay, so that's the inlay on the 12th fret. Okay, but the bat wing, there's a bat wing on the 11th and then the other on the 13th fret.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be times when we'd be learning stuff and I'd be like, no, put your finger on the other bat wing, or move up like a half step to the eye socket.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you want to focus your attention, right?
Yeah,
there, you know?
exactly. Yeah, that was fun. So it's a helpful learning tool, the Sinister Gates guitar.
Here's what I will say, though. They are a band that waved the flag for metal that a lot of younger people could grab a hold of, and that's something you got to give credit for. And the guitar players are legit in that band. They're not
Totally.
bullshit players. They're real players.
Dude, and that's why I was so excited when Jackie Vincent first came out,
Yeah.
because he was just unabashed virtuoso level playing. And he does like the Morse code rhythms. His solo albums are really good too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to plug that also.
You know what's funny is that there's a whole group of metal bands that came out in the early 2000s that I'll just name drop a few of them because it's all kind of a group that like Lamb of God, Killswitch Engage, Trivium, Shadows Fall. There's a few bands like that came in that, and then Dragon Force, Hammerfall, Sonata Arctica off in Europe. There's a few bands like that. I'm just totally
Dude,
thinking.
here's one.
They all kind of came out on the same time, and it's like the classic metal kind of
Dude,
thing.
Black Veil Brides.
Black Veil Brides, yep.
Love Black Veil Brides.
Oh no, they're great band. Children of Bodom. That's another really good band.
yeah.
if you like
rest
melodic
in
death
peace
metal,
to
Alexi.
man.
Arch Enemy is another band in that same kind of group that you go and check out. You know,
well,
with Jeff Loomis
Arch
on guitar
Enemy
now.
Arch Enemy got rolling in the late 90s.
Yeah, I know, but that's the
Yeah.
band people kind of associate with that same movement, that 2000s like new wave of metal kind of thing. The only thing I would say about all those bands, if you're a classic metal fan, is that the vocals are going to be a very acquired taste, because it's like there's not much singing going on, and when it is, it's pretty disappointing. And then,
But at
a lot
least
of
it's not yarling.
Yeah, but it's screaming. It's a lot of it, and there's a lot of those bands like Shadows Fall. There's like the screamed verses and then a chorus that's sung. And I just keep thinking, why do we have to have screaming here? Can't you just sing the whole time? It doesn't.
Yeah, you know, the like Falling in Reverse and Black Veil Brides, they are singing. Now, I mean, they're not my favorite.
And Dragon
singers.
Force too, singing.
Yeah,
and
totally.
and Hammer Falls, and most of the Sonatic Arctica, those guys are singing the whole time. Blind Guardian singing the whole time. You know, that kind
Now
of thing.
there's this new up and coming band called Ex Aegis that has a killer singer.
Ex Aegis has an amazing singer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
she is
she's the
incredible.
shit.
But Ex Aegis is more of a hybrid of like power metal / like kind of melodic hard rock. I would say, sort of that.
It's kind of like the best of all genres.
Yeah, I think
all
that's
in one
true.
Genre.
The best of music
Yeah.
that's ever happened, really.
No, truly,
I
it's
think.
it's as if if someone just took the best of every influence and then just like created this one majestic, awesome.
Exactly. If
perfect
Mozart and Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix had a wild three-way, they would say,
Yeah.
"Fuck yeah, this is what it is."
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
That's would be
man.
the Ex Aegis would be what came from that. You
In
know?
a haunted castle
Yeah.
with Andy LaRocque.
Yeah, playing guitar in the background. For some reason.
Yeah, just for some reason. Yeah.
But and then there's also this other group of bands that people should be aware of that you might dig, you might not, which is sort of the symphonic metal bands. Like I'm thinking about bands like Within Temptation, Nightwish, those kind of bands are just what's the other one?
I have a hard time with Nightwish.
But there are bands with like real playing, real solos,
True.
real melodicism. There's a lot of those kind of bands that are
Heavy,
like female fronted.
heavy keyboards.
Yeah, but that not as heavy as we might like it, but still hooky songs, you know. And
I didn't mean
yeah.
they sounded heavy. I just mean there's a lot of them.
Yeah. I agree. But
High
that's-
quantity.
I guess I'm trying to
keyboards.
throw
That's-
out a lot of like just check them out, see what you think. You know, there's
Totally.
a lot of bands in that sort of genre that came out. I mean, anything that's not at least they're holding the solos to a high standard. They're playing real solos, playing
Their
real hooks.
compositions. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like real playing. And so those guys all kind of came out in that mid 2000s period, like the 2003 to the 2009 period.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
remember specifically 2006 seemed like a year when, again after the grunge comet
Yeah.
like wiped out most intelligent life.
It's like when mammals started to repopulate the earth. that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
totally.
Yeah,
I like a groundhog. I remember I felt like people were sticking their heads out of the hole,
Yeah.
like surveying all the ruin.
Yep.
Okay, here's a band from that time, Fireball Ministry.
Never heard of them. Wow.
Oh, dude! Now it's not high on virtuosity, but although their guitar player is really good, so it's more stripped down, like the kind of thing you'd want to ride your motorcycle to.
This is a motorcycle in
Just big, like 4 on the floor beats. Drummer's a monster, but it's kind of like if you took Black Sabbath and AC/DC and mashed them together,
Yeah.
it would be Fireball Ministry.
There's another band like that, Monster Truck. It's another band
Of
like
course.
that. Yeah, that's the same sort of thing that I think is pretty cool. If it's like a very much an AC/DC sort of Motorhead kind of stripped down rock and roll
Yeah.
kind of thing, which is so refreshing to
just
hear.
dripping with attitude.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing that stinks though is I think almost all these bands, the problem they have is they don't have the hooks. You know what I mean? There's very little hookiness to it. It's a lot of sort of I don't know. It reminds me of you guys are so close. You're like 90% of
Yeah.
the way there. Just need that extra little something to kind of get you over the edge. You know what I mean? And there's a few other bands too that are sort of in that sort of metalcore world, but have got incredible guitar players. The two bands I'm thinking of are Unearth and Born of Osiris.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
are the two kind of prog metal / sort of metalcore sort of
I
bands.
see Born of Osiris in the Kiesel ads because their guitar player. Do you remember
He's
what his name
I can't
is?
remember his name, but he's great.
Yeah.
And then also the guy from Unearth is another great player as well. And I think both those bands. I think the challenge with those bands, and this is my experience listening to them, is that I feel like everything about the band sounds awesome until the vocals start. And, then,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you had so much going on. It was epic. And then this guy started screaming, like, what is that? Let's get someone who actually sings in here, then we might have
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean? And so you have to sort of be okay with like vocals that aren't amazing, but if you can get past that, you're going to find there's a lot of really good stuff there. You just got the guitar playing is great. There's really cool dynamics in the songs. It just, I feel like the vocals just ruin it. It just becomes like this.
It doesn't ruin it, but you have to.
It does ruin it.
get
It's
used
like
to-
it's like
it's like saying that like Chuck Schuldinner's vocals didn't ruin Death.
but it's an acquired
It's
taste.
it's an acquired taste.
If you're coming
It's a
from the
different
Scorpions,
thing.
it's going to be very abrasive.
Yeah,
So it's going to be
totally.
very, very like, what is this? You know what I mean?
hey, as long as it's not Yarling.
Now, one other band I really love, it's another Swedish band, is Evergrey. That's a band I love. That band is killer. They have a guitar player named Anrik, who's like a really, really great guitar player in that sort of Eddie Van Halen meets Randy Rhoads kind of mold.
Sick.
And really good melodic songs. They are kind of all sort of just dark and like internal sort of brooding kind of songs that he sings about, like, meaning and life and hopelessness and stuff like that, like as a good Swede.
Staring into the abyss.
As a good Swedish person would, but that band's great. I love the singer's voice. I think that band, I listen to a ton of those guys. And I think that if you're a classic metal fan and you like stuff like, let's say, Ozzy and Dio, but you also like maybe like Europe, that kind of band, it's got a little more melodicism than Ozzy or Dio, but it's heavy too. It's got that modern kind of heavy edge like a band like Unearth would have, but it's more
Nice.
melodic. And I really love that band. So anybody who likes classic metal, I think you would absolutely love Evergrey. That's gonna be an easy sell right off the gigs. They just listen to like the Glorious Collision album. Listen to gosh, I'm trying to think what's the newest one they just came out with. I'm spacing on what it's called. There's a bunch of them. Just go in YouTube, any video. There's a live album they put out, which is a great kind of introduction to that band that I checked out. I mean, these guys are shredding, doing harmony stuff. They have keyboard shredding in that band.
Nice.
It's really, but it's super melodic, memorable songs. I mean, some of their songs could border on pop music because it's so melodic. And then some of it's like really heavy, kind of thrashy. He'll have like a pop chorus with like a thrash part before it. It's really, really interesting, and it's but not as disjointed as I'm probably making it sound like. It's actually really,
no,
really,
it's a dude. I definitely want to have
really cool band.
I
like
definitely
that band
want
a
to
lot.
have a cup of Evergrey tea.
They actually might be my favorite band of the last 20 years.
Really?
I love that band.
Evergrey.
Yeah, Evergrey. So good.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna check that
Yeah.
out. Hell yeah.
Yeah, if you like that kind of classic metal-y kind of sound, but with a modern kind of, it's got a little bit of prog in there. It's got a little bit of power metal in there. It's got a little bit of pop in there. It's a weird stew, but that band's great. You might notice that I'm
A
leaning.
weird stew or a strange brew.
It's true, and that rhymes.
Yeah, write that down.
What I would say though is that a lot of the bands I'm kind of mentioning primarily are kind of skewing towards Europe, because as we all know, the 90s didn't happen in Europe or Japan.
Well, yeah, same thing with Japan. Yeah, well, Japan, they were like, hey, we still want to be good at doing things.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to.
So it didn't really, yeah.
Punk doesn't really have a whole lot of sway in Japan. You know what I mean?
No,
It's,
well, Mr. Big could sell out arenas in
In the
Japan
90s.
in 1995.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They're huge.
so-
Yeah, exactly. They have a.
So good for them.
That's true. Do you have any other newer bands that you want to mention?
Well, I guess I'll go back to a new band made of the old guys, Resurrection Kings or Resurrection Saints. It's the one that Craig Goldie is doing.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. No, go ahead.
I think it's Resurrection Kings. There's 2 albums that have come out. One this last year, and then a few years prior. So within the last 5 years, 2 albums.
So it's another one of those kind of like bands made up of older artists from other bands, sort of.
Right.
Yeah.
All I know about it is that it's Craig Goldie's baby.
Yeah.
And it's good, man. It's very, very good. Just straight up hard rocking stuff.
That sounds like a King Diamond song title.
Well, which?
Craig Goldie's baby.
Craig Goldie's
Abigail. You know,
right.
it's like-
Exactly. She'll be nailed to her coffin with 7 silver spikes, so she may never rise and create evil again. There we go. That should
Take
be worth
that,
it.
Craig
That
Goldie.
should be worth the cease and desist. King Andy, if you're listening,
Thank you for everything you did.
thank you for everything. Yeah. So those are just a few.
Yeah. Actually, there's one. It's not a new band.
I mean, new Graham Bonnet album just dropped this last year.
That's true. That's an artist that's been around for a long time.
So
though.
yeah. So yeah,
I would say that's I actually
devolving into what I've been listening to. Yeah.
there's also another band called Revolution Saints, which is Dean Castronovo, Doug Aldrich, and the bassist from Night Ranger, Jack Blades. is in that band. That band's pretty good too. It's the same kind of thing. They have like they put 2 albums out. It's a Frontiers Records thing. It's pretty
Nice.
good. It's good stuff. I mean, I'm trying to think. What's another like?
I wish there were a band that featured just Dean Castronovo and our buddy Jimmy O'Shea, formerly of Cacophony.
Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be a band with just those 2 guys called Jimmy Dean.
And they make delicious breakfasts for everybody. I'm sure
Yeah,
that's
it would
what-
be a delicious sausage
and
of
sausage and
a
McMuffin
collaboration.
thing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think one more good like newer band before we run out of time. I'm trying to think what's another one.
See, here's where I wish we had callers.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have to figure that out at some point.
I know there's a band I'm thinking of that's totally spacing.
I mean, there's a bunch of bands that. Okay, here's a band that I love that I discovered in the last decade or so. Baby Metal.
Oh yeah. That's the Japanese band, right?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's well, so in Japanese, I guess baby kind of means cute. So you could say it's cute metal, but
Yep.
it's it's the 3 girls.
Yep.
Sui Metal, Moa Metal, and Yui Metal that they do and talk. If you want to hear great singing with heavy, awesome, shreddy guitars. Baby Metal is for you.
Yeah.
The guitarists are on point. The band is rock solid. Super catchy hooks and melodies and harmonies. Plus, there's choreography.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a huge stage show. It's just every good thing all in one thing.
Yeah, all those good
Baby
things.
Metal is so great.
Okay, I got one other good one I just thought of that is Lacuna Coil. I'm not sure if you checked that out.
Okay, I'm
That
aware
band's-
of Lacuna Coil.
That band's pretty good. Those guys, I mean, they're not great, but they're good. They've got good hooks, good riffs, good solos, great female vocals in that band, lots of harmony. That's a thing that I think if you're a classic rock and metal fan, if you're looking for something new, that would be a band that would be an easy one to like. You know what I
Nice.
mean? So I would definitely recommend wholeheartedly checking out Lacuna Coil as well. They're not new; they've been around for 20 years now.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They're like that 2003-ish kind of vintage sort of thing, which is crazy. So it's all worth checking out. So anyway, that's probably a good place to wrap up here because we've already put too many bands for you to check. You're gonna be YouTubing
Yeah.
all the rest of your day. Whoever's listening to this,
That's right, and hopefully that's enough for us to get our royalty checks.
exactly. Cease and desist
you know,
letters from
cease and desist
quoting
letters.
the vocal lines from King Diamond songs and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Ryan and Scott. We will have socials and the website up soon. In the meantime, please keep coming back here. Make sure to subscribe and rate our podcast. That'd be very helpful to us. And we'll catch you next time.
And yeah, definitely subscribe and rate our podcast only if you have nice things to say.
Yes, if you have negative things, you know what your mom told you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And look forward to that Ex Aegis album dropping this
In the
fall.
You got it. Bye.
All right, peace.